Yo, what is going on, everybody? Welcome back to the Dialed Podcast. I am your host, Nick McElhenney. This is my co-host, Anthony Beretta. And say hi.
What's going on, family?
What is up? What's up? What's up? All right, so first things first, Ant had a kick-ass weekend this weekend. He had a couple of competitors. I want to give him the chance to talk about it. But before we hand it over to Ant, if you are tuning in, this is your first time. If you didn't read the title of the episode, in this episode today, we're going to be talking about different divisions in bodybuilding, different classes, different federations. So if you're new to bodybuilding, you're curious about it, this is definitely going to be the episode for you. If you also don't really know where you fit in or what class you should be competing in, or sorry, not class, but division you should be competing in, this is the episode for you. So stay tuned. We're going to dive into that. But first things first, without further ado, Ant, bro, brought home some dubs this weekend. You want to tell the people what you did?
Yeah. So we got a new wellness OCB Pro in the making here. Well, not in the making, but just got a pro card, I guess.
That's awesome, dude. That's such really a big dub, dude. That's such a really congratulations. Awesome. That's awesome.
Thanks, man. Thank you. Yeah. I had 4 people compete this weekend. I had 1 second in his first show ever in the novice category, which was awesome. I mean, he was so excited. I had like 50 dudes play second, first show ever. So he's super excited about that. And then I had one of my other guys, AJ, he was battling it out for a pro card in men's physique. Unfortunately, he lost it. He actually lost it to someone who did a 2-week prep. So he was basically already, I guess he's like 9% body fat, like year round. He's just built different. So, and he's also like a few years older than AJ as well, so a lot more muscle maturity. But anyways, he brought a really good package, so we couldn't even say anything bad about that. So that was good. And then Jason Castro, another one of my athletes, competed in Classic. He did very well as well. He placed 5th out of a very stacked Classic show as well. It was honestly like a really stacked show. Like a lot of these athletes were looking really good. And then Simone got her OCB Wellness Pro card, which was sick. Very, very sick. And we had a team lift on Thursday. It was very awesome. And the camaraderie, honestly, between all the athletes was there. Everyone was cheering each other on. We went out for barbecue right after and celebrated at Terry Black's. So it was pretty awesome. So
nice, dude. Yeah, sounds like a good weekend, bro.
Yeah, exactly.
That's awesome. So good stuff, dude. And so, speaking of peaking, I don't want to call anybody out at the show, but is there any like common mistakes you see in peak week?
Yeah.
Anything that kind of brought to light last weekend?
Yeah. So what we had was, dude, honestly, like I saw a few mistakes. The first thing that I saw that I kind of talked to you about before was I saw a kid packing a burger and I saw he had it next to him the whole time. And I was like, I wonder when this kid's going to eat that burger. And then I hear an hour till showtime and men's physique was a first up. And then I saw him starting to munch on it right when she said like an hour out. And I'm like, oh my God.
Why?
Does this? I was like, dude, there's no freaking shot. And those for that don't know, right? A burger is very volatile. It can be used, and I would be lying to you right now if I said I've never used it before. It can be used, but I think only in a case-by-case scenario, right? So like if you really need a carb up very fast, definitely not the day of. It has to be like, I would do it like the day prior, if anything, to really start to get those carbs moving. But like an hour before you hop on stage is not the time to be doing that because you can spill over so fast. Plus, it's a food that your body's not used to, right? It's unpredictable. So if you have an unpredictable food, you're still digesting it while you're on stage, you're going to bloat, you're going to have GI distension, the whole 9, especially if you eat the whole thing, fries included, an hour before you hop on stage. I mean, it's just, yeah. And like I said, I'm not going to call anything out there, but I think that's very not smart, right? I think you have to keep it very light the day of the show and use something that's fast acting carbs, very quick to get yourself pumped up for the show. Because you honestly should not be having like a huge meal the day of the show, right? It should be something very light just to like push you through until the day of or the hour of. So
yeah, and
that was one of the biggest things that I saw.
Yeah, definitely nothing like uncontrolled like that. Like you want to control all of your variables going into like a peak week, specifically foods, and like you don't want to throw in anything random that your body hasn't had a chance to get used to, especially going into peak week, right? Because you never know what could happen or how you could respond to a different type of food. So let alone a whole burger and fries. That's insane,
yeah. No, it honestly that sucked. And then I saw another guy backstage. I was just like shooting the shit with him, and he was talking to me about like his coach, like what he did with him, and he cut his water out Wednesday at like 5. Not like full cutout, but started to titrate it down on Wednesday. And by like Friday, he was, or not Wednesday, Thursday. Yeah, Thursday, because the show's on Saturday. Thursday at like 5 o'clock. Then started titrating it down. And by like Friday, I guess he was drinking like no water. And the kid was like severely backed up. And I was like, yeah, no shit, because it's like you need that water, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, you need that. Like, dude, I don't know about you. You could talk about your side of this right after, but like for me at least, dude, water is like it's the whole week. It's just like on point, right? Like you're drinking the same amount. Usually like Friday start like teetering off a little bit towards like the end of the night. And then like the day of the show, it's just like water as needed kind of basis. Just I usually try to give it with a little bit of carbs. So I don't know about you and your take, but like cutting water out way too soon or even sodium way too soon, like I'm sure you have something to say about that, right?
Yeah, like there's a lot of people that like manipulate water early like that, but like I would argue like you really don't have to, especially if you're peaking your client properly and you know exactly how they respond. Like coming into peak week, when you are peaking somebody, you know exactly how they look with X amount of water in them, right? So like the last thing you want to do is just adjust that last minute and throw an uncontrolled variable into the mix, right? You want to come into your show day, your peak day, like with all of your ducks in a row. Right. So yeah, I would argue like you said, like you don't even need to manipulate water until like the day of the show. So yeah.
No, I know. I just it's kind of it's very sad to see too, and especially like some of the things some guys were eating before they were hopping on stage. Like, dude, I saw a guy like every 10 minutes eating a rice cake. I'm like, bro, what is going on? Like every 10 minutes, you're just going into the sleeve and just taking out another one. And I'm like, dude, you're like 2 hours away from, and I've given clients like, carbs like 2 hours before they hop on stage, but like not a consistent amount of like, rice cakes every like 10 minutes. You know what I mean? So I don't know, like, the day of the show, you should already know kind of like what to give and like what the person kind of needs.
Yeah, exactly. Like you should have like a whole plan written out by the time like the day even starts for the most part. Like variables can change throughout the day based on your look, but like, yeah, for the most part, you have a good idea. Like you're not just throwing like rice cakes at them like candy and being like, cool. No, like all these decisions are calculated.
Yeah, no, 100%. I mean, have you seen anything yourself of like a horror story that you've seen like someone backstage do or like anything?
Not necessarily backstage. I don't want to call anybody out here, but I had a previous client that, so when you are peaking somebody, right, a big thing that you are manipulating them is sodium and potassium, right? Specifically sodium, right? So what I had to do, about like 3 weeks out, if they're not already doing it, is I'll have all of my clients start tracking their sodium. Easy way that I do that is through like little salt packets, right? There's about 200 mg of sodium in one salt packet. So any extra sodium besides what is currently in your food intake, we control that through X amount of salt packets per each meal, right? Now I had a previous client. We were backstage at a show and I had given him exactly what I wanted him to eat before we went out. I was like, I can't remember exactly what it was, but I was like, eat X amount of rice cakes and have like one salt packet, for example. And he just kind of like looked around like really awkwardly. And I was like, do you need, like, do you not have salt? Like, do you need some salt packets? And he's just like, yeah, I need salt packets. And I was like, have you been salted? Like did you not have salt packets yesterday? And he was just like, well, I've been salting my food. And I was like, what do you mean you've been like, he's just like, well, I have the little shaker and I've been and I was like, dude,
no.
So like through this whole like peak process, I'm putting all the energy and all the effort to be like, hey, make sure you nail this. Hey, make sure you're putting this much salt on your foods. And he's not listening to anything that I was saying. And so that whenever he ended up on stage, like he could have come in way better condition than he did. But, that's what happens when you don't listen to your coach, I guess. But
it's funny because I do something somewhat similar. I mean, not really, but I always like give them like a grammage for like salt to use in like all your meals, like split up. So like 6 grams of pink salt, and then you just get like a gram scale and like you weigh it out that way. But I mean, honestly, it's like there's so many different methodologies that do work. It's just about like track it. That's it. Just track it. Like as long as you're tracking it, like
the biggest thing about bodybuilding is just track. That's
just input the data. That's it.
Yeah, that's literally it. That biggest thing about bodybuilding, just data.
Yeah.
Collecting
There's 1,000 ways to skin a cat, right? It's just, how do you
you need
do
to
it?
figure out, you need to track how you skin the cat.
Yeah, I guess so. I never thought about it like that.
Yeah.
But
So
nah, yeah, basically, I've seen that, and then I've also seen coaches like ruin a client's tans too. Like I'm like, dude, leave it
really,
alone. Yeah, I saw someone backstage. This was at my the last show that I went to, Summer Shred. I saw someone backstage like fucking with the kid's tan, and the tan was perfect, but he had this like glove and he was like fucking with it. I'm like, what are you doing? Like the guy's tan's perfect, and then like you saw like on stage, it just looked blotchy and like it was just like fucking just like streaks on his back. I'm like, okay,
he tried
so
though. He tried.
dude, yeah,
The
he
effort was
tried.
there.
What was
Don't
that?
know what the effort. I said the effort was there. I don't know what the intention behind the effort was, but it was there.
I don't know. I mean, dude, honestly, like I let the professionals take care of the tan.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know.
Have
I
you?
do have some glossing stuff. It's like, God forbid, or like, they need to get a quick glaze in. Like I have that stuff on hand. It's like if needed, but like at the end of the day, dude, let the professionals handle it. They usually
Have
do a
you?
good job.
Have you ever had anybody do their own tan, or heard of anybody doing their own tan?
I've heard of other people hiring other people to do it for cheaper.
Mm-hmm.
But I've never like had someone do it themselves, like tell their girlfriend like, "Hey, I need you to tan me" or something. Like usually just hire out that
Yeah.
I've seen.
It's like the
That makes
safest bet to do.
What's up?
I said that's like the safest bet to do. And I feel like arguably like that's part of the experience, dude. Like part of the experience is getting down to nothing but a sock and stepping into a sweaty room with a bunch of half naked dudes and getting a spray tan. It's part of the experience,
Half
man.
naked dudes, yeah.
Part of it.
No, it really is though. It's I don't know. There's a purity aspect that comes into it, like of just going through the way the show's actually supposed to be intended,
Yeah.
right?
No, for
So
sure. For sure. And
yeah,
also disclaimer on the sock note. I've never actually had to wear a sock. Men's physique doesn't. You don't have to get the cheeks out, man. You can just go in your underwear and they'll tan you through that. But for dramatic effects,
it's
if you
funny
do
because
classic or you do bodybuilding, we'll get into this in a second. But for those, you're gonna have to wear a sock. Sorry, bring it. Find the fanciest
it's
sock.
funny because the last OCB show that I went to, believe it was the Kansas one. Maybe it was the Kansas one. Yeah, Wichita, Kansas. They gave me a freaking like it was
A
like an
sock?
invisible jock. It wasn't a sock. It was like a jock strap almost. And I'm like, I would much rather just wear a sock at this point. I'm like,
Yeah.
this is kind of belittling. But they're like, yeah, we don't have any socks. So yeah, they just gave us like this like tidy whitey string to put around our. Yeah, it was interesting.
For men's physique, they did that.
Yeah, they
They didn't
gave it
just
to
let
all
you
the
use
athletes.
what?
Yeah.
I would have been like, nah, dude, just like you're not gonna see anything past the trunks. If you could just spray over my underwear, that would be great.
Yeah.
You're not keep yeah.
Yep. Yep. I don't want to talk about it. I'm good. Anyways, getting into
A little
where
scarred there.
the different federations and stuff. The reason why we are talking about this is because I had an athlete who competed in OCB, did very well, and now we're talking about potentially working into the NPC at a future date, right? Do an off season, then come back and do the NPC. And I was talking to them, and I was like, "Well, when you do make a return back, I'm not going to lie to you." You're going to have to go to X division. So basically from wellness down to bikini. And there's different federations look for different things. And if you're going toward, like you're gearing towards a certain federation, you're probably going to have to make a few changes. Like I'll give you a prime example. If I were to compete in classic for NPC, I would get smoked. Like there'd be no chance. But if I did classic for like OCB, I would have a better chance. And it does come down to the portfolio of clientele who are showing up. NPC is going to have a lot of the bigger dogs, if that makes sense. And you're going to have to like use your strong suits, right? So it's like I have a small waist, broad shoulders, small legs. All right, I'm like designed for men's physique at this point, and I'm okay with that, So it's like talking about the different federations, like what are you built for? And Nick, you can kind of go into this too, but like when you're looking at like a client and they're like, "Hey coach, I need you to like help me with like what like men's physique, classic bodybuilding, like I need help with picking for myself." What do you kind of like tell them? What do you look at? Just give us your 2 cents on that.
I mean, just like biggest thing is just like overall tissue, right? And where it's at. So like obviously like if you got like chicken legs, you're going men's physique, dude. There's no shot. But like if you have and it also just depends on the time frame too. Like is this person coming with me like I want to prep now and Like, is that the condition that they're in? Like, do they have enough size to be competitive? Or are we going to have to push them through a little bit of a growth phase first? If we push them through a growth phase, we have more of an opportunity, obviously, to put on a little bit more size, especially in certain areas. So say somebody comes to me and right out the bat, like, their legs are a little bit unproportional from their upper. But if we have time to kind of push a little bit of a growth phase beforehand, put some emphasis on growing those legs, that doesn't necessarily mark you out. That doesn't mean that you're going to be a men's physique competitor for the rest of your life. We have the opportunity to grow and put size on the specific areas that we need. Right.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, 100%. I don't think and it's not like too late for anyone either, too. Or this other thing too is like you can compete in whatever you want to compete in too. So it's like it shouldn't necessarily be up to your coach to decide. Like I would always get your coach's input, but it's like at the end of the day, the way that I feel about it is like this is your journey, dude. If you want to compete in classic, go for it. I'm going to give you my honest take on like what I feel like you should compete in. But dude, if you're like, bro, I'm dead set on classic because I love the posing. I love the trunks, the whole nine, right? You're like, dude, I just want to do that. Like, cool, we'll do that. And then in the off season, we'll focus on the parts that are unproportionate to what you need basically for the stage.
Yeah.
So I guess kind of going into OCB versus NPC. And I mean, there's a bunch of other different federations too, like WNBF and stuff, but we're going to be talking about like the primary ones, right? So like OCB, NPC. Nick, if you want to give your take on both of those different federations, as far as like, I don't know, do you want to talk about like conditioning, like classes?
Like what do you, like, they're not the same too, especially like that's the biggest, I would say, like difference between NPC and like OCB. OCB, you can get away with coming in a little bit less conditioned, a little bit softer. We've seen it. But NPC also, that's another big thing on OCB. Personally, I don't really think that they put too much effort into judging posing. Like at least when it comes down to it, I think in NPC, right, you can essentially, they're big on, for example, like if the person next to you is a little bit more conditioned than you, right, but your posing is better than them, right, you can beat out the person. If your posing is better and you are highlighting your strong suits a lot better than an NPC, it goes down to like the better poser at the end of the day. From what I've noticed, OCB doesn't apply judging the same way. It basically just comes down to like overall condition, not necessarily even condition, but like the biggest thing I've found that OCB is judging on is just overall like mass, whether that is extra water or like a little bit of extra fluff, or you're just like overall just a little bit more softer. They don't necessarily they don't necessarily judge a ton on conditioning and posing through my eyes, from what I've noticed watching shows and kind of listening to judge feedback and stuff like that. Whereas like NPC, that is the bread and butter. You come in condition, you come in tight, you come in dry, you come in full. That's everything. Along with pairing that with proper and adequate posing, that is what will give you the W. Whereas like OCB, it's just kind of who's bigger at the end of the day. I don't know if you agree with that or if you have any 2 cents on that, but that's just what I've noticed.
Yeah. No, I mean, it was funny because one of my clients hopped on stage and she was conditioned, like really condition. I mean, we peaked perfect. And it was funny because right after she hopped off stage, one of the judges was like, just as a heads up, we're not looking for the most conditioned, the most striated, something like along the lines of that. And I was like, what? Like, this is a bodybuilding show at the end of the day. Like, you have to show up conditioned, right? So like, I don't know. I thought it was funny. Felicity also thought it was like kind of hilarious too. Of like, did they just call her
you're
out?
too good. Yeah.
Yeah. Did they just call her out? Like, I don't even know. I didn't understand that. But at the end of the day, like with OCB, you are, I don't even know like the word for it, but like you're seen in a different light if you come in like a little bit fuller and less conditioned than someone's like who's like really conditioned. And the way that I see it with NPC is like they reward conditioning, right? That's like the biggest plus there is like, dude, if you're grinding for a show, it's like you want to be able to be rewarded for that grind, right? Especially if you're like, dude, if you're a single digit body fat, like you should get rewarded for that.
Yeah, no, for sure. So yeah, that's the biggest. I mean, I completely agree. I think those are the biggest kind of differences between the two. I mean, it comes down to like posing is a little bit different as well. Especially, pretty sure bikini posing is a little bit different, but I know for a fact like men's physique is different. For example, in NPC, if we're talking about the men's physique, We've got like your front pose. Like, I guess we can dive into posing, right? I'm pretty sure we've hit on posing in another episode, but men's physique is a really good starting point too. If you are kind of unsure of which division you want to get into, men's physique is always a really safe bet because there's not as much to learn, right? Especially when it comes to posing, right? Men's physique posing is very, very simple. You do a front pose, you do a back pose, and then you do another front pose. Front, back, front. That's it. Pretty friggin' simple. But to dive into a little bit more detail, in NPC, you're hitting a front pose. You're doing more of like a side or like a Ventura pose, and then you swing around to your back, hit your back pose, and you come back around to the front. You can add a couple of fancy transitions in there if you want to. But at the end of the day, it's kind of like front, back, front. Whereas like OCB, it's front pose, quarter turn, side turn, back pose, another quarter turn, front pose. And so a little bit more complex. And those quarter turns still bug me out. I suck at those.
But, yeah, tell me about it.
Yeah. But yeah, there is a little bit of some differences between there. I know, for example, too, bringing in summer shredding into the mix as well. I know for bikini, for a fact, like their posing is a little bit different. Like front pose for bikini is different than the front pose for like NPC in summer shredding. So
yeah, no, it's like, I think I really wish posing was just universal. I don't know if that's a hot take or not, but I feel like
yeah.
I feel like it should be universal, because it's like, I don't know, it's very hard, because, I had an athlete who wanted to compete in OCB and men's physique, and, he wanted to do a show like 2 weeks after his NPC show. And I was like, well, now you have to learn 2 different poses. And it's not bad, but it's pretty hard at the end of the day, because it's like you're trying to have to like contort your body in a certain way to show, like, I don't know, basically with men's physique, right? Your front pose, your hips are supposed to be faced outward, and then your upper torso is supposed to be facing like the judges, right? And you're supposed to do that on like both sides. Now imagine doing that, like your front pose, but like turn to the side even more. So it's like you're having to really contort your body, and like, I don't know, it messes with me. It messed with him too, especially having to learn those poses in like such a short time, because you're having to like contort your frame. But yeah, I don't know. Maybe that was just a hot take.
No, I mean, I completely agree. I don't know why we got to make it so complicated. Let's just make the same posing all across the board. Like, nobody needs to, no different, like, federation. It needs to be special. Okay. All right. Like, why don't we all just get along here and set some guidelines? Okay. Group effort. Come on. We're all on the same team here.
Literally, yeah. I'm like, oh my God. Because like I love teaching posing, but I'm not gonna lie to you, teaching OCB posing is a lot harder than it is for NPC, because it's like you kind of, sometimes you almost have to be there in person with them to like actually be like, okay, this is what I need you to do. This is how you do it. Over the phone is like pretty hard, because you're like, oh, you have to put your foot like this. Yeah. So
yeah, I definitely agree. Like, it's a lot easier to post somebody in person than.
Yeah. So, I mean, we talked about NPC, OCB with Summer Shred. It's technically not different. I mean, we could talk about like the difference as far as federations. Like when you're looking at them from afar, I would like to say that with Summer Shred, you're mainly just going there for money, of course, and then for recognition, I would say, are the two things. And then also they do have the transformation category, which I think is awesome. I think that's really
love the
cool.
Transformation category. I think it's so cool. It's such a good idea. If you don't know what the transformation category is, I forget what they break it down into.
It's just like how much weight that you've lost in like X amount of time.
Yeah. So basically, like if you lost like 200 pounds and you're not necessarily stage lean, you can still get up there and, like show off like the hard work, right? And it's also really cool because before somebody in the transformation category goes out, one of the requirements for that like division is that you make a video that essentially is you talking about your journey, and they play that on the stage for you before you come out. And then you come out, everybody's all teary-eyed from hearing your story. And then you do a couple of poses, show off the hard work, everybody's clapping, you get some awesome recognition, you feel good, and then you go back off stage. And I love watching those transformation stories. It's just super motivating, super inspirational, and just reminds me, like, at the end of the day, like why I do what I do as a coach, and like how beautiful and amazing like this whole industry can be.
No, I had a client actually compete in that, and he did amazing. He dropped like 70 pounds, and I mean, his transformation was nuts. And seeing his transformation on like the big screen, bro, it's like, it's hard not to tear up from that too. You're like, oh,
Yeah.
fuck. Because it's like, dude, I had a role to play in that, right? You know, it's their big day, and I was able to help like get them there. And it's really cool. So I do have to admit, like, it's definitely one of like the coolest things that Summer Shred has. And that's what I gear a lot of like lifestyle people towards, because it's like, it's competitive, yes, but it's not at the end of the day. It's like, it's just being able to share your story and maybe motivate someone else. So I think that's really cool.
Yeah. No, I love it. I love it. What else were we talking about? Why were we talking about summer shredding? We had a reason to be talking about it.
Oh, like why you would do Summer Shred versus like
Yeah.
NPC or
Yeah. And that's
OCB.
another thing too. In my eyes, like summer shredding, I feel like is more of like an influencer show, which is kind of what you were hitting on. But like it looks really good on the socials. You get to go spend a weekend at like Alpha Land. They put on a really good production. They take good care of you. Like that is one thing. Like if you want a good show experience, for the most part, summer shredding kills it. Like you walk in there, they give you a bunch of like Alpha Elite swag, and in my eyes, they kind of like almost treat you as like a pro, as like an amateur. Like you get like a whole VIP experience competing in summer shredding, and I like it. It's a really good, especially for like a first show. I'd say it's pretty cool.
Yeah, 100%. I think it's wicked cool. But like if you're trying to go for, say, a pro card in some degree, that's not it's good for like a warm up, I would say, but it's not like something that is going to help you in any way get your pro card unless you're using it as like a baseline show to like bounce off and do another one right after, like a mock show or whatever, just for the fun of it. But if you're really just trying to like get a card, then yeah, I would probably just go with like OCB or NPC, depending on like the card that you want.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, I
So,
completely agree. And like that, here's another fun fact: if you get your pro card, right, especially or in IFBB, you can never compete in another division again, or you forfeit that card. So, for example, if you get your IFBB pro card and then you try to compete in summer shredding, you lose the card.
mhm,
Fun fact.
yeah, not crazy.
Yeah,
It makes sense though,
it
because
does make
I'm
sense.
honestly, yeah, like I would be, I'm not against that, because it's like, dude, you have 200 grand on the line and you have IFBB pros coming and just sweeping a bunch of amateurs. It's like, okay, what the, you know,
Yeah, yeah,
it's
yeah.
like that's not really fair.
Yep.
So,
I don't think it's a bad rule. I don't know if the same applies for OCB. Probably
for
not,
what?
but for OCB, like a pro card, having a pro card in OCB, if you can compete in different federations,
You can, yeah, you
you
can.
can, and you can keep
Hmm.
the card.
Yeah, you
That
can.
makes sense.
Yeah, it's just not for NPC shows or IFBB.
Makes sense. Which makes sense. NPCs are top dogs. Sorry.
Yeah, no, it
I
is. I
said
mean,
it.
that's genuinely why I want to compete in that next time around, is just to see how I do. You know,
Kill
I
it.
think it's really cool. So
Get that natty NPC or IFBB pro card.
yeah, that's
Make it
like 10 years
happen.
down the line, buddy. So
Nah. Nah.
nah, bro. But yeah, so the different federations that we have are definitely like, it's up to per person. And then also like get the 2 cents of your coach too. Like whoever you're working with, just like ask them about their opinion, their take. I will tell you this though, if you have like chicken legs and they tell you to do classic, I would probably like reevaluate that.
I
Because
agree.
don't forget, in classic and in bodybuilding, it's like they're looking for muscle density and size. And it's like, if you don't have that, it's like, okay, you're probably going to fall short.
Yeah. Especially like
So,
to elaborate on that, like equal
yeah.
proportional X frame, like muscle density.
Hmm.
So yeah, if your legs aren't proportional up your body, you're cooked.
Yeah, no, exactly. And now, do you want to talk about like the difference between classic and bodybuilding and how that kind of like works? Because I'm assuming, because I actually had a client ask me like the difference. I don't know if you have a particular take on that.
It just comes down to like size for the most part, I would say. Um, I don't know. Do you have any 2 cents on it?
Yeah, I mean the biggest thing is like being able to effectively do all the poses.
Oh, yeah,
Like,
and posing. Yeah.
yeah, like because there are a few different poses from classic to bodybuilding. So like, hands on thigh. The biggest one is going to be like the most muscular too. And it's like, if you're really bad at, at pulling off a lot of those poses, it's like, of course, work on it. But, it does come down to mass, right? Like if you have a lot of mass and you're just built like a semi truck, you should probably go into bodybuilding, right? Open bodybuilding.
Yeah.
once you hit like the NPC stage, you're going to have to try to like make weight for certain classes. But for like OCB, it's just straight up, just show up kind of thing. So,
Yeah.
if you're really just trying to go for that, then yeah, the difference is mainly just going to come down to as well with the apparel that you're going to be wearing on stage too. So if
Yeah.
you ever like go to a show and you're like, okay, why does this guy have like a pink trunk on or like leopard print? It's like, okay, he's in
Velvet
bodybuilding.
Speedo.
So that's going to be like the noticeable difference between bodybuilding and classic. If you just see them on stage, classic's just going to be like that black. Sometimes it's like glossy too. Trunk.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. 100%. So yeah, and then I think really the last thing we want to talk about too is just like the different classes too. Like basically, when you get there, obviously you're going to be sorted into like class A, class B, class C, depending how big the show is. That's really just determining that you are competing with like other people around your same height. So yeah, but there are, especially like in like NPC. You've got like true novice, novice, teen, hero, masters. True novice is going to be like never have I ever competed in like a show at all. Novice, I'm pretty sure they just changed the guidelines for it, so I need to like double check that. But novice is just essentially like you haven't won a show before, but you've competed, but you just haven't won.
yeah. You haven't won your novice class before, yeah.
I feel like they changed it now to like you haven't like placed sex in like in like a national level show. You can still be considered novice, which has been a very like debated.
Well, yeah, it's different for OCB and NPC.
Yeah, I'm just talking about
Like,
NPC.
okay, yeah, so
Yeah.
NPC, yeah.
So yeah, that's been a very controversial thing in like the NPC world lately.
Yeah, that one, yeah, 100%. But like, say you were to go to like the OCB stage, it's like, yeah, because I won my novice class, so I can't do debut and I can't do novice anymore, which, either way, I probably wouldn't have done that in the future, regardless, just open. But yeah, you have debut. I guess I could talk about OCB, then you could talk about NPC. How about that?
Perfect.
Yeah, that works. Cool. Sweet.
Yeah,
All right.
cool.
So like for OCB, they have debut and then they have novice and then they have teen and then they have open. So debut, never hopped on stage before. Novice is you never won your novice class before. And then teen is you're, I believe, 17 or younger or 19 and younger. And then they also have masters too, but I'm pretty sure for OCB, it's 40 plus and for NPC, it's 35 plus. So a little difference there. And then with the open division, it's basically just fighting for your pro card. Whoever beats, because the way that they divide it is you go into different classes, like open class A, open class B, open class C. And then say you're in open class A, say you win your class, you're going against B and C for that pro card title. So that's going to be the main difference there. So what about NPC?
Yeah, I mean, it's very similar for the most part. Like I said, like for NPC, you're going to have like true novice. That's never stepped on a stage ever before. Novice, like I said, never won a show before, but I'm pretty sure they just changed the ruling for it. I'll have to double check and fact check that. Teen, that's going to be like 18, 19. You can't compete in NPC until you're at least 18. Hero, that is going to be like military first responders, police officers, military, firefighters. And you're going to have masters as well, like you said, 35 plus. And then obviously, again, you have open in NPC as well. Very similar in context, but yeah, open is just where the big dogs are. That's like the real show. That's going to be the best of the best competing against each other. And then in NPC, you'll have all of the winners of each open division, right? So you've got different classes, like I mentioned earlier, based on your height, right? So you'll have class A, class B, class C, right? So for example, you'll have an open class A, class B, class C, and the winner of all of those different classes, so the winner of each height, then all of those open winners go to compete against each other. And then they are essentially fighting for the overall, which is number one of all of the classes. So, and then that's another thing in NPC too, is there's no like second place in overall. It's either you win the overall or you don't win anything. So
yeah, no, for sure. Yeah, I mean, it comes down to like whatever. I think at the end of the day, the whole synopsis is like whatever you want to do, just do it, right? Like I would definitely get the opinion of your coach because like you're hiring them for a reason, of course. But like at the end of the day, if you're like dead set on doing a certain category, like classic or men's physique, it's like, all right, how do we like work towards that? If you're not built for it, how do we work towards it? So yeah, I mean, I think, yeah, that was all I really had. So
Yeah. No, I think we covered everything we wanted to talk about. It was a pretty good episode. I'd say it's pretty informational. And so hopefully everybody listening to that could agree. But yeah, let's call that a wrap for this episode. And thank you guys for tuning in to the Dialed podcast again. I'm your host, Nick McElhenney. If you want to follow me on Instagram, my Instagram handle is at Nick McElhenney. So at Nick McElhinnny. If you want to follow the team page, not team page. If you want to follow the show's page, that's going to be at Dialed Show on Instagram. You guys can figure out how to spell that one. And then you want to plug your socials too?
Love to. It's going to be Coach_Beretta, BERRETTA. That's how you find me.
Awesome. Cool. Well, thank you guys for tuning in. Thank you guys for supporting the page. If you could, I'm pretty sure on whatever platform you're listening to this, there is like a rating option. If you could just go out there and give us the best rating possible, maybe leave a little bit of a note talking about how great we are, we would greatly appreciate that. But yeah, all right, that's all we got. We'll see you guys in next week's episode. Peace.
Peace.